want to just jump right into John and get a little bit deeper into, I guess there's 3 different tracks that we need to go down. One of them being the security layer, right? This security layer. And one thing that stood out to me very early on is that you said that it was something of a personal mission of yours to quote unquote slay the pirates. Granted, in this case, it was to slay them with incredible technology and better user experiences that can actually take a stand and be a forward action for how we can actually create our NFTs and do that in a more secure way. This was something that was just could not be any more relevant for how many scams are going on, how many phishing attacks, social attacks, people are getting their wallet drained left and right. So I would love for you to just dive into a little bit more on the security layer. I know that the security aspect operates on multiple facets. So I guess we could start talking a little bit more detailed on the DDI. But yeah, just take it away on the security layers. Maybe talk a little bit about your passion for that and how you came to love and revere security in the realm of digital technology, and how you're carrying that forward with the SmartMoose technology that puts it just above and beyond any other minting platforms that exist.
Okay, well, thank you, Glassy. The 3 different company entities that came together, one of which is 𝙬𝙤𝙧𝙬, is something that I was heavily involved in, and that grew out of security consulting work that I did for the government. And I worked with the United States Ambassador of Technology. I worked on a lot of different think tanks and panels over a 27-year period of time. And it's interesting to me where things that they were talking about in 1994 are just now coming out, today, and things like that. So maybe it was having kind of that precognitive idea of where things were. And when the idea for 𝙬𝙤𝙧 came up, the first person I thought of was Jeff. And I actually asked my co-founder, I said, listen, if I'm going to do this, I want Jeff, because if we're going to be fighting pirates, I want one of the guys that helped to write the current platform there with us to be able to write the next standard. And that's really where the genesis of the security started, was when I say military level technology, I mean it. We are actually we're patent applied for. We're almost done with the patent process on a completely different patent category, not just patent type, but a patent category. So for the security, and that's where the forged process comes from. A lot of people said, why would you call it forge? Doesn't that mean a forgery, a fake? And we'll go, no, it's for RGD, first of all. And no, it's more like forged in steel, forged out of metal. You can't change it, you can't affect it. And if you do, it's going to come through it. And that's basically what the DDI technology does.
So I'm just going to peel back a couple more layers on this with you. So that on the case of actually making a mint. So I guess I want to first of all highlight that smartmoose.com will be a curated marketplace. So this isn't initially going to just be open to the public, but they will be bringing forward different curated NFT drops. And on the NFT drops that you do bring through SmartMoose, that your DDI technology starts even before the minting process. Maybe you could just bring us a little bit into like how that works, or yeah, just where that came from and why that's effective.
Well, yes, I can do that. Yes, what we have created, and primarily our key encoder Mario and Jeff have been working very hard on, is a process called digital DNA. When you're dealing with loss and NFT, you're generally dealing with sometimes accidental, sometimes a machine breaks down, whatever. A piece of the metadata, the connective tissue, goes missing, and it's almost impossible to prove your NFT. And because all your NFT does is point to that, it doesn't include that. And DDI stands for dynamic data injection, and it actually includes the metadata files, which are hidden visually inside the NFT. And anything deeper dive than that, let's let Jeff talk, as he lives this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, maybe Jeff wants to just pick up right on that in terms of after the DDI, like what other layers of security or what other immediate benefits are given, say if a wallet is compromised, or in the scenario of someone else is trying to make a copy that is an illegitimate copy of this. Maybe you could talk us through some, like the use case of what you would do, what you'd be able to do because of this DDI.
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Glassy. Thank you. So I think it's first important to understand that we bring a holistic approach to creating digital assets for Web3. At 𝙮𝙗𝙪, we took a step back and looked at fundamentally what are the value components that that a digital asset must have to be effective within the Web3 universe. And so we started with file optimization and making digital assets as small and as high quality as possible is the first step. Taking that data and optimizing it into a data set that we can then dynamically inject imperceptible data components into. Because an NFT is really, three components. It's the smart contract, it's the metadata that describes the asset, and it's the asset itself that lives on some form of storage, whether that's decentralized or not. And so the current problem is that smart contracts just use that metadata to describe an asset that is a copy of a digital file replicated around the storage network. Anybody can get their hands on that digital file as it's represented within the viewing devices that we use, whether that's a mobile device or a desktop monitor or whatever. Anybody can capture that image and say, okay, now I have this digital asset. The smart contract just points to a location of where a representation of that digital asset lives. So it's been a problem to identify the asset as an original piece of art, original piece of an original creation. So what DDI does is it marks the digital file as an original. So provenance can be built upon that original file. So it's one thing to say, hey, I have access to a representation of a file, and I have access to the original file. And so once we have this asset and we have collected the metadata and we've collected the some components about this asset, we can imperceptibly and very robustly mark that file dynamically. So at the point of a creation, we can choose pieces of information to put into the payload that verify that this was a process that happened at a very specific time by a very specific person using a very specific piece of software, for a very specific transaction, if you will. So identification of a particular asset and linking that asset to a specific contract is key to providing provenance and copyright authority within the industry. So if somebody was to try to copy that file from a screen grab, or just grab the file itself and mint a new NFT and sell that, the authority to have it taken down exists because that information can be drawn directly from the image itself. It's very robust technology. You can crop it, you can color correct it, you can re-encode it, you can do whatever type of attack that you like to it, but you're not going to get rid of this this data. And that data is more than just just a copyright. This is specific to specific data to the transactions that will that provide that chain of title, if you will, to the asset.
And I'd like to just add a word on top of that, if I could, just in terms of the importance of that, right? So, people watching have all different levels of understanding of kind of the NFT ecosystem. But a quick recap is like, we really kind of started with novelty items like collectibles and kind of like simple games as NFTs. But the future of NFTs, as many people are starting to see, is like, proof of ownership of IP and land and cars and homes and like more serious applications, right? So as Jeff's explaining this, it's not, I would encourage people not just to think about that for like a crypto kitty or a Bored Ape, it's really serious applications to this kind of like security and protection moving into the future, into the Web3 world, right? So yeah, we're setting a big stage here for new ways for this to apply, I guess.
Yeah, that's right, David. This is was designed and built based on the concept of broader global trade and ways to to track and validate transactions in multiple markets.
Right.
Right. It's also important to note that while the Web3 is still within its infancy, we are poised to go ahead and follow its growth, and we are poised to go ahead and be as nimble as possible with this web DNA, because we will become basically part of this new growth serum. So as now that we're here on the ground level, we can really go ahead and start to shape how these future things will determine. How these future things will come out, and we can help make sure that you guys have your investments taken care of. Not only in like a funny little moose or something like that, but in a house, in a car, in something that is able to be purchased by NFT.
So one of the things that John touched on, and I'd like to follow up on, is that the payload that resides within the contract and within the asset itself makes the asset recoverable, right? So we don't need to have all the pieces. We can have just the digital asset, or we can have the smart contract. But from that digital DNA that's in there, the payload that's carried, we have the ability to get back to a source of content that would allow us to essentially reforge an original. So even if the storage gets lost, or the metadata gets lost, or somehow the chain goes away, from one of those pieces, there's always the ability to recreate the digital asset from the from the DDI that's present. Now, there's a couple of different ways that people can verify whether or not the asset that they have possesses DDI or has been forged.